With the stealth explosion of the early noughties, we got 3 incredible stealth games for the rest of the genre to build upon. Now that's Metal Gear Solid 2, Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, and Splinter Cell. Going forward, all 3 series have maintained high pedigrees, but as the industry slowly started to feast on its own tail by pursuing endless military shooters and open-world third-person action adventures, one of which, Assassin's Creed, had a far more stealthy start, the genre as a mainstay has become fairly underrepresented. Or has it? Like some of the best shadow-clinging heroes of the genre itself, it turns out that a bunch of the best stealth games could have been hiding under your nose the entire time. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 most underrated stealth video games of all time. Number 10. Tenchu Z. 8 years before Assassin's Creed Unity would try and fail at the same concept, Tenchu Z bravely pioneered the idea of group infiltration on Xbox Live. By outfitting your custom ninja with all manner of appearance tweaks and ability modifiers, you could team them up with people across the globe to take on a huge amount of missions. Alternatively, solo play was exemplary too. Customization carried across no matter what your assassin was up to, and where Tenchu Z excelled over its contemporaries was through a staggering amount of items and animations. With the series' occasionally supernatural bent, enemies range from standard thugs all the way to mystical warriors, and you were free to cling to vertical surfaces, concoct various bombs and distractions, perform in-air kills, and kite enemies into kill rooms of your own design. All this while dabbling with innovative multiplayer that nobody else would even try their hand at for almost a decade, just what you'd expect from the creators of Dark Souls. Number 9. The Saboteur. Although it remains truly sad that Pandemic will never finish their initial version of Star Wars Battlefront 3, another consequence that stemmed from various mid-tier studios shutting across the start of 2010 was their other projects barely getting to share any of the limelight. The Saboteur was one such game, a uniquely styled action-adventure that mixed Assassin's Creed and Uncharted-style climbing mechanics with a color scheme that highlighted elements in the world, or visually arresting explosions, alongside gunplay that meant if things went sour, a reliable third-person shooter had your back. Whilst it did fall down a little with some driving sections that were a little too arcadey for their own good, Saboteur's general setup as a French spy amongst Nazi-occupied Paris was one that had appeal and charm for days. Setting up your base HQ out the back of a cabaret club and having a button dedicated to lighting up a cigarette in case you ever found yourself looking out over the rain-swept city. This one was oozing with style. Number 8. Alpha Protocol. Granted, if you really wanted to ditch the shadows and whip out a Beretta instead, Alpha Protocol has you covered. But the best way to play this design your own spy RPG was to spec in the direction of stealth kills and tactile infiltration, clearing out any area one guard at a time. Obsidian are forever the developer with the best ideas, but some of the spottiest execution. We're looking at you, Fallout New Vegas. As in the run-up to release, AP was being touted as Mass Effect for spies, only for bugs, previous generation-looking animations, and weightless gunplay dragging it down. Those who stuck with it though found a truly engaging and unique spin on the stealth genre. When you look at the melding of real-world framing and RPG stat training, this kind of thing hadn't been attempted again until The Division. Since launch, the various issues have been smoothed over, leaving this as a throwback to when mid-tier developers had the funds to try something completely unique. And although Alpha Protocol would ape Mass Effect's dialogue system, the branching pathways that led to various alternating levels and endings gave it a ton of replayability. Number 7. Invisible Ink. From incredible indie devs Clay Entertainment, the same people who did Mark of the Ninja and Don't Starve, this game set out to reinvent the stealth genre when it came out in 2015. They did this by applying an XCOM-style isometric strategy formula to a genre that's formally resigned to controlling characters directly. In doing so, like Metal Gear Acid to some degree, it forces you to plan every move accordingly, planting agents on doorways as you try to predict enemy movements, hacking into security systems to free up other pathways and methods of insertion, deploying special abilities, and hiding bodies. Everything unfolds piece by piece, and it's all backed up by the studio's exemplary, forever gorgeous animation. Playing Invisible Ink is like nothing else, and if you particularly enjoy preempting which enemies you're going to take out, when and how, this is absolutely the stealth game for you. Number 6. STYX, Master of Shadows. Stealth doesn't always have to mean super secret agents, gadgets, and evil villains in fortified bases. Instead, by taking the base staples of dodging enemy patrols, introducing some really cool levels with impressive amounts of verticality that let you get the drop on foes while surveying those ahead and topping it off with great characters and solid lore, STYX is the PS2 style throwback you never knew you wanted. Sure, its animations might not be as fluid as Metal Gear's, and its blade not as impactful as Riddick's, but Cyanide Studios' heart gives the lovable little goblin endless charm, thanks to the project being a spin-off from humorous cult success of Orcs and Men. The basic gameplay loop of STYX will basically involve you studying level layouts and enemy patrol routes. It's a tribute and continuation of every stealth title that's emerged across the 2000s, sitting confidently as something that stands alone in doing so, especially when compared to the more expansive nature of things like Metal Gear Solid 5. Number 5. Volume. If there's one really cool thing about the video games industry being over 30 years old, it's that people who grew up playing certain games then sometimes become game developers and make the games that they were inspired to make when they were kids. Enter Mike Bithell, who you might know from Thomas Was Alone, a really neat Pixar-esque setup that saw a bunch of individual pixels get to know each other before getting through levels together. Bithell stated in the development of Volume that he'd used all the money from Thomas Was Alone to create a love letter to the original Metal Gear Solid, which he'd played and loved as a kid. From the top-down camera to deploying a range of stealth gadgets to trying to stay outside of enemies' cones of vision, you can see the Kojima-esque elements here. Where it breaks away is in a super cool narrative, with you playing as live streaming hacker Rob Loxley as he attempts to break into various installations in a bid to show a dystopian public how to reclaim their lost wealth. Andy Serkis pops up as the villainous Guy Gisborne, and Danny Wallace, the nerdy guy from Assassin's Creed's present-day stuff, contributes as the titular software, guiding you through each level. All three have a ton of dialogue that paints a great picture of Britain as this rundown V for Vendetta-style nightmare, and it's through periodic rollouts of new abilities and items that keeps Volume fresh throughout. Number 4. Gunpoint. Coded almost entirely by one person in their spare time, Gunpoint is a side-on pixel art showcase that shows what happens when a games reviewer decides to get his hands on the other side of games production. By letting you play as a character that has instant access to any electrical system in any given building, thereby meaning you can rewire lighting systems, locks, and plenty more anytime you like, it manages to walk a fine line between being an out-and-out puzzle game, but also rewards quick-fire reactions if you need to deal with any immediate danger. That means guards can be leapt on and battered into submission if you're fast enough. The game even makes a brilliant "are you still punching them, Bob?" if you don't stop. And any improvised tactics can be developed on the fly once you get a handle on how the various systems interface with each other. The best part though might be the fact that you can tackle guards through windows if you aim right. And there's nothing better than leaping deftly out the side of a high-rise, cushioning the fall with a wayward goon, and strolling back off into the night. Number 3. Mark of the Ninja. From one 2D side-scroller to another, and Clay Entertainment's innovative Stealth Goes 2D mishmash of styles is more solid than Clash of Clans' sales figures. By applying the studio's incredible art design and eye for fluidity and character movement with abilities and level layouts that are a dream to play, you'll rocket through the healthy 15-hour campaign and still be begging for more. Your ninja's abilities are upgraded and fleshed out in the coolest way after every couple of environments, unlocking everything from spike traps to gliding kills. Even a time-freezing teleportation ability lets you disappear into a cloud of smoke if you're spotted. If the heart of the best stealth games is in letting you feel like an incredibly powerful character, rationing out the pain in short bursts by way of dazzling special abilities and confident tactile controls, Mark of the Ninja is outstanding. Number 2. COUNTERSPY. Dynamite's COUNTERSPY is an incredibly slick-looking stealth title that dynamically changes to a cover shooter whenever you hop out of the line of fire. As all levels are rendered in full 3D, Shadow Complex style, it effortlessly melds the two styles into one, meaning you're free to leap fluidly around levels with varying amounts of verticality, taking out guards with ease before snapping to cover and engaging in intense firefights or targeted headshots, should the need arise. The narrative sets you up as a neutral agent, garnering power for your own faction during the Cold War, and everything from the character's slinky animations to the menus and backdrops are fully cloaked in 60s Spy nostalgia. Sadly, the studio has since disbanded, but the game is still available, so you should check it out if you haven't already. Number 1. Splinter Cell Blacklist. Unlike Metal Gear Solid 5, which managed to skirt by on franchise reputation alone after losing the veteran voice of its main character, swapping out Michael Ironside as Sam Fisher after a couple of fairly average Splinter Cell games only served to completely bury Blacklist in the public consciousness. It didn't matter that Sam was back to dissolving into the shadows across its duration, it didn't matter that you had more gadgets and infiltration options than ever, it didn't even seem to matter that gameplay was slicker than ever, and built on everything Chaos Theory so expertly laid out through additional animations and kill opportunities. The public turned their nose up at newcomer Eric Johnson donning the iconic goggles, and that was that. But it doesn't have to be. Blacklist still remains the finest stealth game that side of Phantom Pain, one that comes replete with a 24-style, thrill-filled storyline reminiscent of the Mission Impossible movies, setting up a globe-spanning series of missions that are all expertly designed, encouraging replayability through sheer experimentation. You can play Sam as a gung-ho bullet lover if you like, or you can hang back, pick off enemies one by one, charge up a chain kill special move, and wipe out the remaining group in one fluid motion. When it all comes together, Splinter Cell Blacklist is right up there with Chaos Theory, and it definitely doesn't get enough credit for that. That's the end of our list, but let me know what would make your list for the most underrated stealth games of all time. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I've been Jess from WhatCulture. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonnell, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great gaming lists.